Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to absolutely dismantle the popular myth of the invincible apex predator, and we're going to do it by looking at the hard data. We've all seen the nature documentaries, right? The intense magazine covers, the terrifying, shadowy silhouettes. We naturally picture these creatures as flawless, perfect killing machines. But, nature doesn't actually work that way. Today, we're going strictly by the numbers, the biology, and the observed behavior to uncover a completely fascinating truth that's been hiding right in plain sight.
So let's dive right into this core question. What is the secret off switch built into the scariest predators on Earth? Because biology has actually hardwired highly specific, sometimes deeply flawed, and honestly, often comical vulnerabilities into Earth's most fearsome creatures. Behind the giant teeth and the razor-sharp claws, every single apex predator has a documented off switch. Sometimes it's a massive design oversight on a cosmic scale, and other times it's really just the cost of doing business at the very top of the food chain.
Here is how we're going to map this all out. We'll start with the myth of invincibility. Then look at how predators are betrayed by their own bodies, what happens when they're at the mercy of the elements, the absolute power of the pack, and finally, we'll look at the ultimate predator exploit.
All right, part one, the myth of invincibility and balancing extreme power.
Look, nature just doesn't build perfect killing machines without a catch. It all comes down to this concept of the kill switch. A kill switch is essentially a built-in biological, environmental, or social weakness that balances out an apex predator's extreme power. Now, it's not always a physical body part, but once you know where that switch is, suddenly the monster in the dark looks a whole lot less intimidating. That brings us to part two, betrayed by their own bodies. Let's see what happens when physical mechanics just flat out fail. Think about the number 12 for a second. 12 seconds. That is the literal time limit on the King of Beasts. The lion is on, basically every royal coat of arms and flag representing courage and power. But a lion's cardio is practically non-existent. Adult lionesses can absolutely sprint at 50 miles per hour, but they blow their entire anaerobic energy tank over just 200 meters. Their core temperature skyrockets, lactate spikes in their muscles, and they literally have to stop or they risk total collapse. So the king essentially loses any fight or chase that lasts longer than 12 seconds. A wild beast doesn't even have to run forever. It literally just has to outrun the lion's gas tank. Now picture the sheer terror of the saltwater crocodile. We're talking about a 2,000-pound reptile, up to 23 feet long, packing the single strongest recorded bite force in a living animal at an astonishing 3,700 psi. Its jaw-closing muscles are stacked, thickly layered, and absolutely brutal.
But here is the comical trade-off. Because its jaw-opening muscles are incredibly thin, they produce almost no torque at all. That world-ending bite force can be completely neutralized by a single human hand. Or, a $2 roll of hardware store tape. Field biologists actually do this all the time. They use just a quick wrap of duct tape to completely secure the strongest jaw in the animal kingdom. A jaw built only for closing opens worse than a stuck kitchen drawer.
Or take the grizzly bear. Now, it has a jaw that can crush an elk femur and a nose that scientists estimate is 7 times better than a bloodhound's. It can smell carrion from over a mile away, but its eyesight? It's so incredibly poor with such limited color discrimination that a stationary human just 50 feet away basically looks like a stump to them. They are the absolute scariest animal in the woods, yet they're practically nearsighted hunters. It's exactly like navigating the world with the audio cable plugged in, but the video cable left completely on the floor.
And it's a very similar story with the massive 29-foot green anaconda. It happily trades speed for incredible lethality. I mean, it can swallow a 150-pound capybara whole. But the price tag for that meal is incredibly steep. Right after it swallows, its heart rate plummets, all its energy is completely diverted to generating gut acid, and for the next 10 days, the biggest snake on Earth basically becomes immobile luggage with a face. During that time, it's totally vulnerable to jaguars and caimans. It's essentially reduced to a giant sock that swallowed a basketball, just parked in the mud. The Komodo dragon has a major, high-maintenance failure point too, its teeth. Its famously venomous slash bite relies on these gum-lined, shallow, super fragile teeth that constantly snap and break off. The dragon actually has to replace them on a near-continuous cycle, growing new ones underneath, almost like a deli operating on a number system. Which means if there's a delayed tooth replacement cycle, the 10-foot apex predator of Indonesia turns into just a slow lizard with big hopes. Its off switch wears down a millimeter at a time.
Moving on to part 3, at the mercy of the elements. These are perfect machines right up until they get the wrong weather.
Take the polar bear, the largest land carnivore on Earth. A polar bear is so hyper-insulated with 4 thick inches of fat and these incredible transparent guard hairs built specifically to survive negative 40-degree weather. But because of that, a totally mild 50-degree Fahrenheit spring afternoon throws it into severe physiological heat stress. Imagine putting on a sleeping bag, then zipping a heavy winter parka over it and trying to sprint. That's the polar bear. Its thermal kill switch is literally just a really nice spring day.
And this perfectly illustrates the peregrine falcon's dilemma too. It's the absolute fastest animal on Earth, clocking 242 miles per hour in a steep dive. But because its lift and acceleration mechanics heavily rely on air pressure differentials across the wing, a totally calm, windless Sunday morning essentially grounds the poor bird. Without moving air to help it climb out and maneuver, the world's fastest predator becomes barely faster than your average city pigeon. It basically outsources its performance to the weather, and when the wind stops, so does the falcon.
Which brings us to part 4, the power of the pack. We are shifting from the physical environment to social and cognitive vulnerabilities. The Bengal tiger is a phenomenal example of an apex predator literally doing the math. Field biologists constantly observe that a 600-pound Bengal tiger will actively choose not to fight a 2,000-pound gaur or an adult elephant. The tiger intelligently recognizes its own hard ceiling. It runs the numbers exactly the same way you do when you realize the bouncer at the club is way bigger than the door. The kill switch here isn't a body part, it's a hard line drawn on the food web by sheer mass and weaponry. A lone gray wolf runs into a very similar mathematical wall. An 80-pound wolf can absolutely take down a 1,200-pound moose, but only because it has 6 to 15 packmates helping out. Without the tactical flanking and the anchoring provided by the pack, long-term data shows a solo wolf success rate against large prey basically drops to 0. You pull that pack apart, and the terrifying apex predator of the north is basically just a medium-sized dog eating berries to survive. The wolf's kill switch is simply the empty space next to it.
Then there's the ocean's smartest predator, the orca. They rely entirely on hunting culture, which you could basically call grandma's recipe book. Orca pods are led by post-reproductive matriarchs, and these older females hold generations of specialized knowledge, like how to beach strand to catch sea lions in Patagonia or how to wave-wash seals off ice floes in Antarctica. This means their ultimate kill switch is simply the death of that older matriarch. When she dies, her descendants literally stop catching the specialized food she taught them how to hunt. Their off switch looks exactly like a funeral.
All right, part 5, the climax, the ultimate predator exploit, hacking the great white shark.
So the great white shark actually has a massive design oversight built right into its nervous system. If you hold a great white inverted, belly up, the shark enters a total paralysis known as tonic immobility. Well, orcas off the coasts of South Africa, specifically a famous hyper-intelligent pair named Port and Starboard, actually figured this out. Back in 2017, they started hacking this biological kill switch. They'd flip great whites upside down, instantly turning 3,000 pounds of terrifying teeth into a paralyzed floating brick. The most feared fish on planet Earth has a kill switch labeled "Flip Here," and these clever orcas have been pressing that button for years.
When we look at all these different kill switches side by side, it's clear nature brilliantly balances the scales, whether it's through simple biological exhaustion, relying too much on the weather, or needing a highly intelligent social group to survive. No animal gets to be truly 100% invincible. And honestly, that matters a lot to us because it completely shatters that illusion of perfection. It reminds us that extreme power, whether you're looking at nature or anywhere else in the world, absolutely always demands an extreme trade-off.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on today. If orcas have figured out the secret literal off switch to the great white shark, what other hidden vulnerabilities are just waiting to be discovered out there in the wild? The natural world is absolutely packed with these built-in weaknesses just waiting for the right conditions, or maybe the right predator, to flip the switch. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning everything you think you know about the wild.